Welcome to What's in a Game. On today's show, it's dress rehearsal week. With opening night right around the corner, the stage is being set for the debut of the new look Nuggets. How is the show coming together? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today, Will?
Good. The Nuggets look amazing. That Clippers game was intense. The Bulls game was
intense.
funny.
Yeah. Why were both teams playing that hard in preseason? I swear I've never seen a preseason game like that.
I think they hate each other. Like the intensity of
that
playoff series. Do
the Nuggets not also hate the Wolves? Like they're a division rival, but they were showed up to that preseason game and every other preseason game before this year. Like it's basically every other preseason game in previous years, plus the Wolves game this year. They're like, whatever. We don't give a fuck.
The Bull, like Josh Giddey's acting like it's the Super Bowl. I'm like, chill, you're on the Bulls. You're supposed to be tanking. Don't give me hard fouls.
No, but you don't
be
understand.
Shooting 10 threes.
Because they're the perennial losers of the play-in tournament. You have to consider, Will. Josh Giddey does come from the OKC Thunder, and they take every game seriously, even in the preseason, no matter who's playing. And so I don't think that he knows how to not try.
He has the OKC DNA still in him?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess that's why he got all that money.
Hurricane T-Max says the Nuggets understand that the Wolves still have their chain. I don't think they understand that because they don't even try.
That's something similar to what I was going to say. You know, like they know we've had this rivalry forever. We beat them once. They beat us twice.
Once
in the playoffs, but they keep beating us in the regular season. And then
we did beat them last preseason though.
We always play good against the teams we own, like the Lakers and the Clippers, like the LA teams. We love to beat them.
I don't think that we try against the Lakers, though. Like, that's different. We're just better.
We still win, but we don't
still win. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey needed to show out. Well, he already got his money. I guess he wants to show that
he's showing he proves it. Sometimes getting paid inspires you.
Well, I think you've seen me wear this shirt on the show before because I wear it a lot. It's one of my favorite shirts. It's very comfortable. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows this, but if you could read this, it says ERC. That stands for Eaton Residential College from, let's see if I can get this on camera here. The University of Miami, my alma mater. This was my shirt from freshman year Sports Fest, where, every dorm, they get their team and then you're all competing against each other and whatever. And I will say I was on the, what did they call it? Table games team.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And I personally made it to the quarterfinals of Connect 4. So I just wanted to share that with the audience. I think everybody
was it a life-size board of Connect 4?
Life-size?
Those big.
Oh, the life-size one. No, it was regular Connect 4. It was regular Connect 4. And I made such a dumb mistake. I was so close. I think I would have forced a tie in that quarterfinal, and the other girl was really good, which I have to say because I lost. But
my shirt has Nugget Theater on it.
Nice. What is that from?
There's a theater in Telluride that's called the Nugget Theater. So I got it for the Nuggets. Because the Nuggets are theater, especially this season.
Yes, especially this season. We did have a couple of dress rehearsal games this week. I can't wait to talk about those. All right. No programming notes to dive into today, but please do us a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps us out with the algorithm as we try to grow the channel. And Will, I'm sorry, but there's a piece of news that I forgot to put on the show rundown because it happened this morning. That I think we should talk about. Keegan Murray gets his extension from the Sacramento Kings. I believe it is a 5-year, $140 million deal. So average annual value of around $28 million. It starts, I think, lower and then ascends as the deal goes on. But that was, I thought, interesting. That's a couple days after we get the news that Keegan Murray is going to be out for maybe a couple weeks with a thumb, I think, injury, like a thumb sprain. So he hasn't been playing the last couple preseason games, and then he's going to miss the season opener, I believe, as well. And when I saw that news, I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't affect his contract extension. But it didn't, and I think that's evident from the number itself. Keegan Murray, lottery pick, mid late lottery guy. Or was he like number? Hang on, I should get this number right because we want to get the draft pedigree right when it comes to the conversation about what this means for Christian Brown's
He was drafted 4th.
Extension. He was 4th. Okay, that's what I was like. Wait, was he just right after? So he was drafted right after Jabari Smith Jr. Getting significantly more money, or at least non-trivially more money than Jabari Smith Jr. on an annual basis. Jabari got something around a 5-year, $120 million deal. Obviously, Keegan has been a starter for his entire tenure as a Sacramento King. Jabari was a starter and then wasn't a starter and is now projected to be a starter again because of the mini roller coaster that the Rockets have gone through with their roster. The transformation from being like one of the worst teams of all time in the NBA with Steven Silas and way too many young guys to having vets and like a coach who I don't know, knows how to create a program. And yeah, now Jalen Green's traded, and obviously with Fred VanVleet out, there's no way that Jabari doesn't start on this team, even though they have way too many forwards in the Houston Rockets. So I just thought the gap in their two numbers was interesting. Obviously, the fact that Keegan comes in at around $28 million a year, which is, we talked about him briefly as a potential, not necessarily a comp, but a guy, an anchor in the range of where we expect Christian Brown to be. And yeah, I just thought we could talk a little bit about the similarities and differences between Christian and Keegan in their situations, right?
Yeah. He was like a comp that we talked about when we talked about how much he should get last time, I believe.
Yes.
We talked about Keegan Murray. And yeah, I instantly was like, do you think Christian needs to be making more or less than Keegan Murray?
I said it was probably going to be in the same range. It's an interesting question because if you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said Keegan's making way more money than Christian Brown, even if Christian had a breakout season as a starter, because Keegan was already on a really great trajectory, right? Obviously that, he hits a skid with that last year after they add DeMar DeRozan, they get rid of Fox, the whole Kings ecosystem is very broken. And Keegan ends up having a down year as they add more ball handlers. They add Zach LaVine mid-season, and so he's less involved in the offense, or at least has a lower usage in the offense. And I was like, I wonder if this year impacts what Sacramento would have given him. But this is the number that I would have I wouldn't have been surprised by, given the trajectory that he was on before this last season for Keegan Murray, that is. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we talked about the fact that Keegan has been a starter for his entire Kings tenure, unlike Christian Brown, who's been a starter for 1 year, coming off the bench for 2 years, has a breakout season as a starter, able at least offensively in the regular season to handle the uptick in usage and minutes and all of that stuff. They're both wings, though. You'd think of Christian as more the shooting guard, small forward, and Keegan more of small forward, power forward combo, 3-4 instead of a 2-3. Keegan took on, especially his second year, but even the first year, but I think he was better at it his second year, a really high burden in terms of the defensive side of the floor, taking on he basically, his second year was Christian his third year, where he was just guarding every team's best player. to varying degrees of success, but it was like, that's your job. And I thought he was on a pretty good trajectory in that sense. He had some really good games. I remember early on, his sophomore season against like Donovan Mitchell, even like Steph Curry, but obviously like Steph always gets the last laugh when it comes to like the one-on-one kind of defender and that kind of thing. But he fights over screens, like guards up a little bit, very smart defender, good positionally. Like, a lot of the stuff that you could put the same like attributes on Christian, but it was more so that Keegan was doing it as a starter, and Christian did that stuff more when he was coming off the bench, right? The other difference is obviously their draft pedigree. Keegan goes 4th. That's very high. And I do think that Jabari going 3rd helped make the extension decision perhaps easier for Houston, because they don't necessarily have to pay him like a 3rd overall pick, but they offer him a high enough number that a guy who was drafted 3rd overall can be happy with the number. Even though if Jabari had started the last two the last 2 seasons, then he probably would have been making closer to the range of $30 million, just in terms of like the raw talent, prospectability, and the fact that like Jabari, unlike someone like say Kuminga, does fit into Houston's system, does do, at least like in his best games, he does like all the little things and whatever. I think that's something that really stands out with him in Houston. And why I think he's going to be big for them this year. So I bring him into this because of like the draft pedigree question and like the differences between these 3 guys. Obviously, Christian goes 21st or 22nd overall in that same draft class. He was drafted, let's see, Christian Braun, 21st overall in that same class, so outside the lottery.
But he has,
and the reason I bring that up is not like, that's true, he does have a championship under his belt, but I bring that up not because it impacts the kind of player that he is, but usually things like, well, I was drafted such and such overall. It's more like being drafted outside the lottery shouldn't hurt you in these negotiation conversations, but being drafted like in it like bumps you up, right? Because it's like, well, I was drafted here because I had all this upside as a prospect, and I still have that upside. So you should be willing to like take a chance on paying me, maybe even more than you think I'm currently giving you right now, because you think I'll give it to you in the future. Christian, I think, is an interesting case in that sense, because if you asked me a couple years ago, say after his 2nd season, how much upside he has as a player, I'd be like, well, he's probably like a high floor, like very high floor, but like low to moderate upside type of prospect. Well, after this type of season that he's had and what you've seen from him in the preseason, we're going to talk about some of the ways that he continues to grow. Where do you put Christian Braun's upside? Is it higher? Is it the same?
As Keegan?
In terms of like no, like relative to where you thought like his ceiling was before. Because a player can keep growing and getting better, but like on the trajectory that you expected. Or they can like surpass all your expectations in ways that make you think like, oh, I need to revise what I thought his like upper end was. So where are you with that for Christian?
When we drafted him, Calvin Booth also drafted Pwat the same year. So there was the expectation, hey, we're getting defenders on the team who are going to contribute, and we're going to win a championship because of that. And we won the championship that year. Christian surprised us. Weren't necessarily expecting him to be a contributor that season, and he was. So I just thought we were getting him for kind of a 3-and-D role player archetype. Like maybe he'll shoot some threes, maybe he'll, and then play perimeter D. As we've seen him grow, he's not as much of a perimeter defender in the KCP type. He's a lot bigger. Obviously, he goes to the rim, dunks harder than I expected. And his shot this preseason is looking good. I mean, we're going to talk about the Clippers game. His 3 was I mean, he was 3 of 4.
There's 3 in all the preseason games, except I think he went like 0 of 1 last game, but like that doesn't.
Right, 0 of 1, whatever. But so it's like, I think he's in some ways exceeding what I thought he would be. Like, he's not the young energy guy off the bench guy anymore. He's the starter who's kind of making his own identity, and he's seeming more like the vet role player guy who's just on the team, who can make plays, who's kind of like hopefully reliable. I mean, I think the reliability thing is the thing that I'm still wavering on. But if his shot is like just relying on his shot, I guess, because like I think of like Derek Fisher hitting clutch threes because he's just a role player and he's savvy and he's, you know, he just gives your team a little bit more of an
shot
edge.
Went in. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that David Adelman said we wanted more timely shooting after losing against Thunder. Can Christian be one of those players who contributes to that? I hope so. But, and he's looking like he can. But I just like watching him play, and like he's just developing into something I didn't expect. And so I think for me, he's kind of exceeded expectations. But then there was new expectations put upon him when we lost KCP that he was kind of being compared to, and like trying to fill in a very specific role for a team that won a title in order to do it again. And I think everyone's still kind of fighting with weighing what he is versus, do we need that specific thing out of him? And if we don't get it, how detrimental is that or not?
Yeah, I think for me, the question of his reliability is not really, that's not something I'm really considering, because I don't like the shot doesn't contribute to like whether I think he's reliable. I think he can play a lot and contribute a lot, even if the shot is like whatever, as long as he's taking the shots. That's kind of where I am with the shot, even in the playoffs.
But I guess even somewhat defensively, like
that's where the question of, you're right. So in terms of like what goes into reliability, I think defensively is where I'm like, even when things are like not going well offensively, is he going to give like that defense at like a super high level kind of thing? And the reason you care about that is because it's like, well, you've got the shot, you've got the defense. What else is there? Self-creation. We're seeing some flashes in the preseason of like, okay, there's like more that he could do, especially like within the flow of like the way that the Nuggets play offense. But for me, it's still not on the level of like, you know, like an Andrew Nembhard, that I don't even think is like I think Nembhard's really, really good. Like potentially offensively, but I think that he can't handle like super high usage and do all the other things that he does necessarily. The flashes, I think offensively, even in this preseason, that have looked very, very good. And we're going to talk about like how, like where he's improved and also where the limitations of even that improvement could be as of right now. But I will say that I have, Christian has forced me to revise like my ceiling for him a little bit, where it's like, okay, maybe like the 80th percentile outcome that I had for him like a year ago was like be Josh Hart. And I think he's like better than Josh Hart now, to be honest. Just because, and that's in part because Josh Hart has regressed. But I think that Christian is pretty close to where Josh Hart was 2 years ago already. In terms of like where he could keep improving, I think things like the self-creation, and we're going to talk about it, the timing, all the little nuances of that, it's underrated how difficult it is to develop those things when you're not a number one option and you haven't been your entire career. And he hasn't been, right? In terms of like a primary creator, not just like finisher, because he might have been like a leading scorer on some of his other teams, but not necessarily creating everything. And I think that's like, I'm not saying that he needs to create everything. He doesn't, you know, for this team. But I do think that while I've been forced to revise my ceiling on him, I've seen things like, okay, his new like 100th percentile outcome is like Jimmy Butler, and I don't know that that's quite the case. Although to be fair, like you had Jimmy Butler, was he a second round pick or like late first round pick? Had similar athletic tools, kind of did a little bit of everything.
30th overall.
30th over, so end of the first round kind of thing. So it wouldn't be unheard of, but it would be difficult for Christian to realize that, like, within the role that he currently plays on this team, for example. So he might have that potential, and we just never, know it.
I don't think that's the potential that I saw for him, for sure. And if he got there, that would be drastically exceeding expectations, for sure.
He does sometimes get to that little mid range, though. If Christian drew fouls and had like the sense to do that, and I'm not saying he needs to develop it, but that would be like the kind of thing that you look for in terms of like craft and like how much feel does this guy when he's like on the ball offensively.
Yeah.
And it's not that he doesn't have it, it's just like, where do you put him on that scale? And I don't necessarily have him as high on that end as I've seen some other people have him, even after we've seen some of these like really great flashes. But go ahead.
I think about like Pwat and his development and how some people talk about how he's relegated to the corner too much. We need to open up his game a little bit. Even with Mike, even with Zeke, how some people have an idea of what their role is, and then the coaches are doing a specific thing, and you may or may not agree with that. I don't think we've seen that with Christian, which is a good thing. Like, he's kind of come in, he's brought intensity. You draft him from a champion. The idea was he's going to know how to win, which he's been proven to do, even for our team. And while I wanted him to be a role player, not necessarily a starter, he surprised me in getting into the starting unit sooner than I thought. But how he's like the things that he's really good at, he's great at, and I didn't necessarily see those things coming. And those like are all amazing. Yeah,
we didn't see the finishing coming, because especially after that second year, we were like, woof.
Yeah, and I mean, he's young, so you think young guys can always play in transition. They have the stamina and the speed, but that's even better than I thought. I feel like that's a unique part of his game, not just like something standard that all young players can do. And so like the things that he's good at surprised me. He's contributing as a role player and a starter in ways I didn't really think of, as far as just like play perimeter D and make threes. Like, that's like the basic thing that you want for your role players. But like we've seen, like with the Celtics and the Thunder, it's more about players who, are bigger, athletic, can do multiple things, not just stand in the corner and shoot threes, which sometimes you can have players who can do that.
Unless you're Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you can't have all the players be like that. But yeah, I mean, I love watching Christian play, but there are times where we're still questioning, like, is the spacing messed up? Is he not able to guard the people we need him to guard at times? And I don't want those to be things that we keep coming back to and like having to blame, but we'll see how it goes. But I still like love Christian. And that's partly why I'm like, I want to get this extension done, because I just like him on this team. Like, for the most part, his intangibles and even the skills that he brings to the court help us be contenders for sure.
So based on your desire to get a deal done, you'd be okay with the Keegan Murray deal?
Yeah, I mean, I get that it would probably be like 30 million would be a lot. People would panic about that. Anything above 25, still people being concerned about that.
Me.
Yeah, so like I get that for sure. I guess I just feel like, I don't know, like it's funny because Keegan, I think I argue this when we talked about it last, where I almost feel like the Kings could overpay him because they don't have title aspirations. Like, maybe they should tank. He could be a tradable asset, so give him a little bit more. You can match more salary that way. Who knows? Like, is he so solid in their future plans? Like, I wouldn't say necessarily. I don't think anyone should be for them. Christian
what future?
Is yeah.
Like,
so
that I think that is the thing that's missing from a bit of at least the online dialogue about this contract extension from Keegan, because I'm still looking at this like, does anybody really think, especially after the last year that Keegan had, that Keegan has like more upside than Jabari Smith Jr.? By, I think they're going to be making, like, Keegan's going to be making like a sixth to a fit, like 20% more money, right, than Jabari on an annual basis, and also the total size of the deal. But that's in part because it's like, well, yeah, for Sacramento, like, it doesn't matter. right? Meanwhile, you've got the Houston Rockets like squeezing every last drop out of like the cap space and apron space that they can get because they get these deals. And I'm not saying that Denver necessarily has to be like that, but I think again, even though I've iterated this on the show before, I agree with you, Will, like the $25 million mark is like the high end of what I would find acceptable in terms of like the average annual value of the contract. Good point, Hurricane, that you have to live in Sacramento tax. Very, very good point. That's why I'm 100% convinced that, like, I mean, yeah, the Kings were obviously going to give Fox whatever contract that he wanted if he'd stayed there. Which is why the Spurs had to pay him, right? But yeah, for like Denver and like Houston and other teams that are actual contenders, like, yeah, we can't just give,
Yeah.
Like, look, Keegan Murray does have upside. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that number. I will say that, like, after the year that he had, and that's in large part because of like the personnel around him and like the team also went to shit, right? And so it's like because he's in that situation, he had the year that he had. But if Christian had the year that Keegan just had, like, obviously not. I wouldn't be okay with that number. But obviously, Keegan has the first 2 years to sort of bolster that and be like, that's not what I've always been. I've shown that I can be better, particularly if you guys improve the situation. But yeah, for Sacramento, it's like, yeah, we don't really have, like, their highest paid player right now is Zach LaVine. They're not really going anywhere. Like, there's no threat of like, oh no, we won't be able to build our title contender if we give Keegan Murray $30 million kind of thing. But there is for other teams that have where it's like, okay, this dude is your fifth dude. Do you really want to pay him, this based on like the output that he's given you, the impact that he's given you on both ends of the floor? It's tough. Like, I think that, just to be clear, I am very in favor of players trying to get as much money as possible. Absolutely. And I think the best way for them to do that, honestly, is through the collective bargaining agreement rules, right? Obviously through their own individual contract negotiations as well. But I think the team also needs to do what they need to do. And, being a fan of the team, I don't want the team to act stupidly given the framework that the current CBA is under. And so I'm not in favor of the Nuggets acting like the Kings in any circumstance. But like, especially in this one.
It's a weird one because if you're competing for titles and you have a great team, classically, I mean, those teams still are spending a lot because they have a lot of good players. But because of that, you got to spend smartly at the same time. And that's just the reality. You're not just like a team with a ton of money and you're giving it all to one dude because you just can, and you don't have to fill him like a bunch of all-stars around him or like high-level role players. So, and it's like, I wonder if Christian Braun was on a team where he was in the spot that Keegan Murray was, would he show flashes of offense that we're not seeing because of the role he's in now or not? Or would he look the same? Would he get paid more? Because if he was like a second or third option on offense, and while his rim finishing is good, would they expect more playmaking or who knows, like creation and, mid-range shooting, more 3-point volume, and then therefore his contract would be less. But because he's in this role with us, he's in like the perfect spot, and he's just making a very good argument that he's perfect for that, almost too perfect, and he's making a case to be overpaid in a sense for what we really can give in that slot. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, that's because it's like, I don't think it's that crazy to say, okay, Christian should make $28 million a year, especially as the cap's going up, whatever. But the other context for what the number, like, quote unquote, should be is the situation of the team, as we've expounded upon. Anything else that you want to say about this? There are, just want to point out, 4 days left until the deadline for the Nuggets to come to an agreement on a contract extension with Christian Braun and Peyton Watson. But I think it's pretty likely that they're not going to extend Peyton this summer, which is kind of annoying to me because it's like, I think you should extend him or trade him. Don't love going into the year without that being settled. But it's likely they take him to restricted free agency, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
But with Christian, we could say definitively 4 days left. Another one that dropped right before the show. It's not really like a comp for Christian, but just like in terms of, okay, deals are starting to roll in now for these non-lottery guys. AJ Green signed a 4-year, $45 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Court talk with CT Fazio asking about how CB was guarding in the playoffs and will that be an issue? I mean, yeah, that's kind of what we were saying earlier. And just like even if CB's shot is amazing and teams are kind of playing off of him and, abusing that to yuck up the paint, regardless of his 3-point percentage, that can always be an issue because we need that paint open for the spacing with Jokic. And it's like, as good as Christian is, I don't want that to keep being an issue. But I don't know if it will ever not be or not.
I don't think it'll ever not be. Like, we're gonna be talking about this all year. We talked about it all last year too. Like, I just don't think a player's 3-point percentage impacts how defenses guard them when they're on this team with Nikola Jokic in particular. Like,
someone's going to be left open.
Christian
pick your poison.
39% from 3 last year. Like, he was a lot more hesitant than he's been in preseason. I'd like to keep the level of like trigger that he's had in preseason throughout the regular season. Obviously, that's going to fluctuate with a guy that's not like a shooter. But you want to see it more like this than it was, say, in the playoffs or for large stretches of even last regular season when he was shooting well. Yeah, I also don't think that should necessarily factor into your calculus, because it's like, I mean, yeah, teams guarded like Aaron Gordon like that for years, and you know what, he could do other things. So I think you have to judge them on like the other things, which is, I think, why the question of like the ball handling, the creation, like what else you do in the offense, the screening, etc., is important. And people have pointed out, like, the Wolves like didn't really care about KCP in the last series either. So like, it's not really about how the other teams are guarding you on this team. They just, unless you're MPJ, which literally like they stuck to him like glue and like whatever.
It's something I want to see how
but
it
more like, can
plays
you
out
punish
this season.
that?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to change. Like, I feel pretty strongly about that, especially given when you have to, in the lineups that we have, it's like, we got to help off of someone. Like, it's going to be Christian, especially now that we have some other better shooters. Obviously Cam's just an MPJ replacement, but we'll have Tim Hardaway Jr. in the lineup as well.
Not all of those like are going to be threes from him too. Like, he's going to just straight up drive and try to make a play on a lot of those.
Yeah.
But
like, I think the team guards you is also a function of the lineups that you're in. Like, when you're in a lineup with Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, who apparently like took his 3-point shooting talent from the gods over the last couple of years, then like, yeah, they're going to help off a Christian, right? Yeah. So, all right. Let's move on. I'll just run through these news items very quickly. ESPN, they debuted the Coach's Corner segment as part of NBA Today. They've continued that on even through today. It's been going on particularly this week. So it's an ESPN segment where Tim Legler interviews NBA head coaches about their teams and has them break down film. So far, he's had Doc Rivers, Mark Dagnall, JJ Redick. I saw one today with Mike Brown. Also, I just wanted to point out, Coach's Corner is not new. Actually, it was a segment that was originally being produced by the NBA, and it could be found on the NBA app as recently as like a year ago. And I used to watch these segments because Nekias Duncan and Steve Jones were the main hosts of this. Like, it was like a short segment structured exactly the same as it is now with ESPN. My question to you about this is, did the NBA basically shove this at ESPN's face and say, you have to do this informative content now, and say, you guys produce this?
Yes, because there's no way ESPN could ever think of producing anything good.
I saw friend of the show, HP Basketball, Matt Moore, quote tweeted one of these Coach's Corner segments in all caps, "What the hell is going on?" It was like from the NBA on ESPN Twitter page that they had tweeted out this clip, and he was like, "What is happening? Is this the fourth horseman of the apocalypse?" ESPN posting or doing informative content as part of their main broadcasts of all things.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of new broadcast teams this season. I can't wait to see all of them and compare.
Yeah,
I mean, ESPN is probably going to be still. Well, I mean, we have NBA Today joining, or what, Inside the NBA, sorry, from TNT joining. So maybe that'll spruce up the halftime show. ESPN had the worst halftime show by far.
I just don't watch.
Joining, so that's great.
That's muting time.
I like those guys. I still like Inside the NBA, but yeah, we'll see. But I like Coach's Corner, and like basketball needs to go more X's and O's focus and less drama focus. As much as we still love drama, like it needs to shift a little more.
I love drama, but you know how you get like I've been watching more football as people know, and I'm like, man, these shows are just like so much more helpful. Like there are so many great there's so much great content out there to learn about NBA basketball, our show included. Right? Hopefully, but in terms of like the main outlets that like the casual observer can like come across, I mean, football and hockey clear by a country mile, clear what the NBA has had going when it comes to what's been on ESPN in particular. CBS, they do these like short segments sometimes, and it's like very hit or miss because it's short and they're like, let's, but I think Coach's Corner is like a good example of how you can have short informative segments as well. And even I saw today, Michael Malone did a short stint on NBA Today on Cooper Flagg and what kind of differentiates him from other rookies. Michael Malone, over on ESPN. It's so weird to see him there, but he's doing a good job there. Yeah. Okay, last piece of media news here. NBA TV lives. It was very unclear what was going to happen to NBA TV after the media rights deal was signed last year. They said that some number of live games, I don't know the number, as well as, quote, programming, highlights, and original content will air on the NBA TV channel and will also be available through the NBA app. Some of they're also going to include podcasts on both their main stream occasionally. I don't know what the schedule is going to be like for that, but also available through the NBA app, including Thinking Basketball, No Ceilings, which is a draft focused podcast network, the NBA Front Office Show, which is one of my favorites that I watch all the time to learn about things like the CBA, the salary cap, and all the different deals that happen in the off season and during the season. Hosted by Keith Smith and Trevor Lane. I think it's funny because Keith is a Boston Celtics guy, Trevor's a Lakers guy, and they have their own little back and forth sometimes as well as NBA Daily, which is kind of the most mainstream one on this content creator list that they're going to be promoting because it's produced by The Athletic. And all of these will be available to stream on the NBA app. I think it's great that they're promoting these some of these smaller creators that like have very focused content on very particular like areas or like perspectives on the NBA. So, yeah. All right. Let's move on to the meat of the show. Finally, Nuggets Clippers. Will, we talked about this at the top of the show, but like my first impression of this game was just, it was so intense. Like both teams. It wasn't like, okay, it's the Nuggets playing the Wolves and the Wolves are always like, they always look better against the Nuggets than they do against like basically everybody else. It was both teams that were like going at it. And it wasn't like aggressive, like, oh, we're going to like jump on you or whatever. It was both teams like out of the gate playing very focused, pretty intense. Like nobody was half-assing defense or anything like that.
Yeah, we went to 7 games in the playoffs, so obviously a good matchup. Probably the best series in the playoffs.
Yeah, I resisted that label because I was mad at the team at the time for allowing
it. Yeah.
For a lot, like
for non-Nuggets fans,
not just getting to 7 games, but just like being the 4 seed and like playing the Clippers. I was like, that's not going to be interesting. It's the Clippers, blah blah blah. But it was actually a very interesting series, and it's great that we won.
It's a good matchup. They have Brook Lopez now. Zoo plays Jokic well. I think some of the Clippers' perimeter play can give us issues. So I think it was worth like. If it didn't end up being the last preseason action for the starters, but I think at the time that's what I thought. So I thought we were going a little bit harder just to like really shake off the rust. But then we played the Bulls and then we ran them even harder. Like they almost played all the third quarter. That was pretty funny. But it's like a good opportunity to like test out some things versus a better team than the Bulls probably.
Yeah, but I do think that both teams present their own sort of challenges. I think especially, although the Clippers kind of had this too, which is maybe why DA had the emphasis, was like, I remember before the Bulls game, he said the emphasis for tonight's game is get back in transition. I think that's because Derrick Jones Jr. absolutely cooked us in transition in the Clippers game in very opportunistic ways, in ways that you're like, this shouldn't happen if you're actually paying attention. And I did just say that like they were pretty focused and motivated throughout this game. I think that was the case for the most part, but there were certainly stretches where the team was kind of in a lull. Okay, let's get to the clips. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's talk about the offense, because I think that was a very interesting tale from this Clippers game. Let's talk about the man of the hour, Christian Braun. If you could bring up his reverse layup out of pick and roll. So he's got Kawhi on him here. I thought this was a handoff, but no, straight pick and roll. Just goes right at Zoo and then gets the reverse layup. I thought this was pretty tough. In like a good way. Like I was like, whoa. Like that was a moment that actually made me think like, am I underestimating Christian Braun? And I think I was, but I will say on this, he fakes not fakes the pass, but he kind of like looks to Jokic to kind of like make Zoo make a decision. If you see there,
you definitely have the pump fake, and whether it was a pass or a shot, kind of had Zoo hesitate, and then he can speed by him.
And like go ahead.
Just strong finish. Like he has a lot of hops, so he can make a long jump like that for a reverse layup, and like just so much finishing talent.
It's not the cleanest, layup. Like there are, guards that can create cleaner layup angles for themselves, even reverse layup angles. But Christian's superpower as of right now is his finishing is just off the charts. And I think that is what, can perhaps give him reliable. I don't know if anybody in the audience watches this anime called Kuroko no Basket. They have all these like basically super teenagers that like there's a guy that can make shoot 100% from like 90 feet. It's ridiculous. But there's a character that has like that he's like the best scorer, quote unquote. And he has these like weird offhanded shots, like push shots, things off the glass, whatever that he makes. It's very frustrating because he's an antagonist. But maybe that's like Christian's superpower. And he's like, as long as he can create like a bit of space for himself, he can find a way to get the ball in the basket when it's short range. That would be awesome. I do think that his touch on things like push shots, floaters, that kind of thing needs to improve. And we'll talk about that when we get to the Bulls game, because he does try a few more things. We get to see him trying out more stuff, I think, in the preseason. It'll be curious to see how much he continues that as the season goes on. You talked about his 3-point shot continues to be wet. Was he like 3 of 4 from 3 in the game against the Clippers? We have a few of those in here, but they're going to be in here throughout to illustrate like and off like the offense itself and how he's
not
getting
just
stuff
Christian.
Out of it.
Yeah.
Not just
but we
Christian.
Talked about him plenty. So
yeah, we have to talk about Cam Johnson though. I think that he is really struggling, like really struggling right now to get out of his own head. And it's funny because he is doing everything right. It's not like he's getting the ball and like hesitating to like make a decision. And you can tell that he's like freezing up in those moments. Not at all. Not at all. Um, but he's missing the easy shots. He's missing all his catch and shoot threes, except for a couple in the corner. He's particularly missing the ones above the break. So I wanted to go through 4 of his misses here. Well, if you could just bring those up and just kind of go through like how wide open these shots are. So I'll just let you play them because I don't have any comment on the shots themselves. Like Christian sets a little flare there, gets Cam a shot wide open. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to get a lot of wide open shots on this team. He hits
He's
some
shooting pretty
some
far
other games,
out, I will say. And part of that is like the appeal. That was one of the appeals to Cam. This one, not that far behind the line at all.
They're running off of an action, which is something I want to see a lot of.
It is, to be fair, this one a right-handed shooter turning right, which is always a little bit harder. And maybe he doesn't necessarily have like that Jamal Murray kind of touch on those shots. This one, like, you know, somewhere in between the wing and the corner, basically, and just like not barely misses. It's a couple inches off. It still touches the rim, but it's like the front of the rim. Was that the 4th one?
This is the 4th one.
Okay, here's the 4th one.
Last one. Wide open in the corner.
These are all catch and shoot. There was one miss that they didn't have a clip for it. I'm pretty sure that one was also a catch and shoot 3. But like he's making his pull-up threes. He's just missing the catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, Poppin says don't let him waste his luck. Yeah, if he's slumping, let's slump right now.
I hope Christian's not wasting his shooting luck in the preseason, or Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal actually had a bad 3-point shooting game against the Clippers. Well, he was 1 of 4.
Hey, so I think he was like 33% from the floor in this game.
That was like not the great Murray game, but he had 10 free throws, I think.
Yeah.
Was that game?
Yeah, that was a 10 free throw game. That's why he kept getting fouled at the rim.
He had 10 free throws against the Bulls. He didn't get a single free throw against the Clippers. Anyway,
interesting.
Because he was our leading scorer against the Bulls.
Free throws. He'd been getting more free throws, so it's interesting that he didn't get any in that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, for Cam, that's pretty representative of his preseason. I would say we talked about the first 2 games, obviously, last episode as well. But let's look at some of the tougher shots that he's making.
Shout out to my friend Lee, who's in the chat.
Nice.
Joining us. Hope you enjoy. Go Nuggets. All right.
Nuggets. If you could bring up the makes off of screens. So this is Cam. It's kind of handoff situations. Make off screen run and make off screen 2.
Why don't I have it? I have to read through all these. Let me grab it really quick.
Yeah, no problem. So I'll just talk about it a little bit, I guess. So Cam, yeah, he seems to be very comfortable with the shots off of screens. He hasn't made all of them, but there were a couple of those. Okay, like this one. So he's in a situation, kind of backs down Io a little bit, and then just a little kind of not give and go, but like a give and shoot. Gives up the ball to, or I guess that's a get action, right? Doesn't have anything with Io. Gives the ball to AG.
Screen, but then he
right
tries to attack
Io does
off of
close
that,
out in time.
Yeah.
So then Cam's like, okay, let me see what I can do here, and then AG just stands there with his big body, great screen, and Cam is like, whatever. And Josh Giddey like definitely should have stepped up there. But I guess didn't want to give up the switch of AG onto Io. Here's another one. Comes off a handoff, turns and shoots, and looks very comfortable there. The reason I point these out is because I think he's not hesitating on every catch and shoot look, but especially the ones where he's like wide ass open. There were a couple of the corner looks where he's like, there's like a split second hesitation that you don't see on these shots. And I think he needs to get out of his head a little bit on like the easy stuff, because there was like a stretch in the Clippers game, I think to close the first half, where you're like, man, we should be at 10 right now if Cam would make like one or two of these, right?
Yeah. Is he going to repeat this MPJ trend of only making threes that are contested?
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So the rest of the offense stuff is some like miscellaneous interesting plays that I thought were fun from the Clippers game. So if you bring up the Jamal downhill, this one, they end up, we talked about this on the last show actually, where teams are like, I wonder how comfortable teams are going to be switching the big onto Jokic. And pause if you could here. So on this possession, they have John Collins guarding Jamal Murray, which, I mean, Jamal probably could have just gone at Collins there, but they run a pick and roll and they're able to switch it because they're like, okay, we totally trust John Collins on Jokic for whatever reason. And we chose Zubac to guard out in space, and he's usually pretty good at this, but he opens himself up here and Jamal's able to get the step on him and gets like a really short floater, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, I don't think Zoo has that much of a chance there. As good as he is defensively, I would expect Jamal to cook him there.
And actually, I meant to bring up, let me see if I have it later. Okay, so I meant to bring this up in this section because after this shot, Jamal's right under the basket, right? He just made this short little push shot. He's the last, he's the sort of furthest away from the other side of the floor. He was the first one back as Derrick Jones Jr. made a transition layup immediately after that play, by the way. And there was no reason that he should have been the first one back. And there's no reason that Derrick Jones Jr. should have had such a wide open lane to make that transition bucket. Like nobody even had a chance of like fouling him out there. So that wasn't great. And that kind of plays into, DA's message for the next game, which was get back. More fun offense. Okay. If you could bring up the Jokic floater. Okay, so AG kind of attacks Collins here, gets the ball back, patient on this little scramble, and then just gets the ball to Jokic and he makes a little floater. He also hit he had hit a step back three over Zubac at the end of the clock. Maybe that was the one that closed the half on a switch and kind of like not banked it in off the glass, but kind of like, basically banked it in off the glass. AG's shot has been absolutely ridiculous.
The bank three, that was funny.
So that's just another like, okay, how we're attacking Zubac switches is interesting to me.
It's gonna be a key thing.
Being willing to take those threes, though, I think is good. Sometimes you'd think like, okay, and I'm fine with this too. Jokic has a small on him if Zubac is out here. Let me get him the ball inside, dump the ball to him, and then he can go to work inside. But if you're willing to take the three, you have the chance at the three, and you've got the chance at Jokic getting the offensive rebound because Zubac is out on the perimeter, right?
Yeah. We had some success with that, in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, some fun bench offense. We had some of the young guys. All of this is Jonas, like the offense of the bench revolves around Jonas Valanciunas in a way that I appreciate because he can set screens and like roll and like finish at the rim, right? Okay, so the first is the Pwat to Jonas. This was a nice pick and roll possession for Peyton. Gets the screen from Jonas. John Collins is like asleep here, but I also think like Kawhi. I didn't even realize that Kawhi was on the floor for this because he was also the one guarding Christian when he got that reverse layup. So he's not able to fight over the screen well enough that Brooke doesn't have to help. And that's what's so great about Jonas. I blame John Collins for this possession, but it's really like Kawhi.
Even Gortat screen, he flipped it.
Yeah.
Because he's just big, he's experienced, and so he could get that step on Kawhi off the screen, and that Brooke even just the playmaking and the vision.
Angle to like angle himself more toward the restricted area at least, like give himself a chance to contest, if not block that shot. But no.
Yeah. I saw that clip going around Twitter like crazy. People just so excited for Pwat and like to see flashes of playmaking like that operating in a pick and roll.
Yeah.
Like where are we right now?
We here. Let's look at the Bruce to Jonas, because I watched this so many times last night trying to figure out if this was an assist or a missed shot from Bruce. So Peyton gets him the ball. He drives in on Chris Paul. Oh, I think, you know what? I think it was a missed shot, but I think Brooke deflected it. Now that I'm looking at it for the like 15th time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooke definitely gets a finger on it. So we don't know if Bruce would have made that. Though the floater has been I think you've only seen him make it once this preseason. But
he was going for the floater, I think, not a lob.
Forces Brooke to step up. Jonas has perfect offensive rebounding position, and he gets that put back. It's those kinds of plays that just kind of like stabilize a bench, because you don't expect, like, your players don't make every shot, especially your bench players. But like, if you have somebody who can get an offensive rebound and put it back, that's massive, right? It seems so basic.
When you've been starving for years, the water tastes so good.
Yeah. When you've been starving for years, you're probably dead. All right, let's go to Jonas's one-on-one creation. So he scores over Brooke in this first clip, and I think this is a turnaround, like, fadeaway, and soft touch, gets an and one there. He holds he holds the form. He's like feeling himself before the shot even rolls in. Gets a little
dribbling from the perimeter with a little spin.
Gets a little screen from Jamal to get a little step on Brooke and kind of force him deeper.
Could have been a foul.
Brooke fouls a lot. It was a foul. They called it.
Oh, they called it. Okay.
Yeah. Brooke fouls a lot. This is like something with Brooke and Jokic as well that I noticed whenever we played the Bucks. And yeah, Jokic like gets Brooke in compromising positions a lot when it comes to the one-on-one. So I didn't really think about just Jonas being able to draw fouls as like a big guy who plays in the post against bench units is probably
a center that we have that gets fouls and shoots free throws.
I know.
No way.
Oh yeah, I can make the free throws because DJ got fouled too. But
oh yeah, that
okay. And then he scored over Brooke again. This one I thought was even more impressive because he gets a better shot. So he starts with pretty deep position on Brooke here, backs him all the way down, basically almost into the restricted area, and gets a little hook shot.
And it's like Jonas can do this against backup bigs, like
against Brooke, easily. Who was a depoy candidate 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
like
just
second
having
in
this
defensive player of the year voting, right?
Like when the bench is just stagnant offensively, this is just something so easy to get to like stop a run, just get some rhythm going, and he just has a lot of skills. Like I almost feel bad that he's a backup. Like, do you think he could be a starter on another team?
I mean, he was a starter on another team last year, but it was the Wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the defense is like, honestly, I don't think his defense has been like that bad. I think it's like for us in the preseason, it's really like it's very personnel dependent, and that's why it was like, very like doable when he was on the Pelicans, for example. They had all that length, all that athleticism around him.
Do you have?
But no, like if you were like a team that's like, I need generic starting center, I think that you could absolutely use Jonas.
Did you grab the block that he had on Giddey's 3-point?
I didn't. No. That was a good play though.
That was amazing. Maybe I'll pull it up.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was rewatching the Bulls game last night, and I was like, oh, Giddey. I don't know. I wasn't terribly impressed with Giddey's game. It was just like, he's the player that he is. That's a player where you're like, my idea of what your ceiling is hasn't revised at all in the last 3 years.
Yeah. All right, NBA.com's being weird, so we'll just move on. But yeah, that was a great play. I'm sure everyone saw it.
Yeah, so just to describe it, Giddey gets Jonas on an island on a switch, tries to take a pull-up three because Giddey does not have the first step to try to get past Jonas in the half court. Giddey is a very, very fast and dangerous transition player. But he doesn't have the first step to do it in the half court. So he tries to step back, take a pull-up three, and Jonas just blocks it. I don't even think Jonas was trying to block it. He was just trying to contest and just like boop. And then we got the fast break going the other way. That was fun. I just want just a note on the bench before we move on to the defense from the Clippers game. They haven't looked awesome. We've had these great plays from Jonas and we've had some like flashes from young guys, but in terms of like the totality, they haven't like looked great, but they're not losing their minutes by that much. And they actually won their minutes in the Clippers game, +3 in Jonas's minutes in the Clippers game against a bench, by the way, that has Brook Lopez. Kawhi Leonard is playing in those minutes because he staggers. Chris Paul was playing because Bradley Beal was out. And that's a like Chris Paul plus competent big is always a dangerous combination. But the bench won their minutes in that game. And I thought that was pretty impressive. They did lose their minutes in 2 of the games. The 2 of the games? No, they lost their minutes in 3 of the games, but like it was like -2, -3. And then in the Toronto game, they were pretty bad. It was like -11. And by bench, I mean the Jonas minutes, to be clear. I'm not counting the deep bench garbage time minutes that we're getting at the end of these preseason games. So I think like they haven't even looked that good in terms of like gelling fully and knowing exactly what they want to get to, but they're not looking that bad. Or like the statistically not looking that bad. So I think there's room for growth there. That's pretty encouraging. Yeah, so the defense was interesting in this game. I thought, like I said, Derrick Jones Jr. was giving us the business in transition, but the Nuggets dialed up the transition or the aggression, particularly in that second quarter. And we went to our favorite, zone scheme from the playoffs, which is this too high alignment on James Harden in particular. Friend of the show, CT Fazio, loves to call it double fist. Let's bring up a couple of the zone possessions, and I want to get your thoughts on like how effective this actually is. So the first one is the Derrick Jones Jr. 3-point miss from the wing.
Yes. Here we go.
Okay, so in this one, you've got Jamal. Christian comes over, and then he tries to go back and contest. So the point of this is to get the ball out of Harden's hands, right? You've got Jokic in the middle, like dropping way back in this case on Zoo, and gets the ball out of Harden's hands, and you've got Derrick Jones Jr. taking a wing 3, and you're like, I guess you live with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Out of James Harden's hands, out of Zoo's hands, out of Kawhi's hands.
And you kind of hope that you can force turnovers, which we did in this game, and we'll talk about a couple of them at the end of this. But on the possessions where Denver did not force a turnover, the next one is the Chris Dunn made 3. I want to look at the process on this possession because I think there was a breakdown. Even though it is a Chris Dunn 3, like you generally aren't gonna want to give up corner 3. So this one's Chris Paul. And then AG flies in from the corner to contest Brook. I feel like that should have been Christian that runs out to Brook, and maybe AG was confused. Let me see here.
Harden's gonna attack. Oh,
because that's the thing is like CP3 gets the ball out to Brook as Christian is leaning towards him, so he's already like out of position to do that. I think it should have been Christian going to Brook and Tim Hardaway Jr. jumping out to Chris Paul. And you just kind of like leave Harden in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, and because now AG has to close out, and then that leaves Jokic to be the one closing out to the corner 3, which is not what you want.
Right. And like it's a Chris Dunn 3, so like maybe AG was thinking like it's Chris Dunn. I can go help on the better 3-point shooter in Brook. But yeah, in terms of just like personnel agnostic, I don't think the process on that possession was great. But they're trying out a new thing, trying to get into the rhythm of it. Okay, so the next one is the Tim Hardaway Jr. steal, the THJ steal.
Yeah,
I
here we
don't
go.
know if this was necessarily his own possession. I think it was because of how everybody's eyes are on Harden and the way that everybody's moving. But it looked like man with just everybody kind of watching Harden and everybody kind of like the floor is just kind of tilted. But yeah, then he tries to go to Dunn as a roller, but he's not a very big target. And so you can't just like lob it into him. And so Tim's able to just like deflect the pocket pass. And here we go. Tim Hardaway Jr. is bigger than people think. Like I thought of it, well, at least bigger than I thought. I thought of him as more like a small guard, and he's more like a small wing. He's like a legit 6'5", with a positive wingspan. Not like 7 feet or anything, but I think it's like 6'9". And he's out there, he's taking charges. The main thing defensively that I would worry about with Tim Hardaway Jr. Defensively is he's listed as 6'7" wingspan. I don't think that's right. I think it's more. He can get caught up in screens and get lost in actions if they try to like go at him that way. And that's based on watching him mainly in Dallas. I didn't really see how like Detroit hid him, but they had a pretty good defense last year, even with Tim Hardaway Jr. as a starter, which is kind of crazy, right? Like they were right outside the top 10 with no really elite defensive personnel outside of in their starting lineup anyway, right? It was really off the bench. You could say Asar Thompson and Ron Holland, but in their starting lineup, they didn't have elite defensive personnel. They had Tim Hardaway Jr. starting, and they still managed a I think they were top 12 defense last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's because he hustles, he does take charges, and when he's like focused, he can get these steals and deflections, which has been part of a theme of the preseason.
Yeah, maybe fans need to adjust some expectations on Hardaway because he just needs to be like that Jeff Green contributor in a way, not in the same way, but just the same kind of role that sometimes makes threes, sometimes can make a defensive play, but he's going to make mistakes. He's going to try to take charges that are going to be called blocks. But if you get anything out of him, it's going to be great. But I'm already like just bracing myself for him being like the Will Barton of Nuggets fandom, just like everyone hating THJ this season. So, well,
he's not a starter, so
I know, but
I feel like I don't know, based on what I've heard, people loved Will when he was coming off the bench.
Well, I think people kind of hated him for, I don't know. They liked him earlier on, and then later on liked him less so. But anyway,
he's on a minimum. I think that
there's always a scapegoat for Nuggets fandom, which is fair. But I'm just already seeing it being THJ.
I'm just realizing this clip was not inserted. But could you grab the one? Jamal had one steal in this game.
Yeah, I grabbed that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, here it is.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't know what the coverage was here. I think that the Harden went too fast for them to establish what they were trying to do, to be honest. So they do press him full court. So I guess CP3 comes in and helps Peyton shed him. I think Bruce probably should have switched there, or at least called out the screen. I don't know if he did call out the screen, but I think he probably should have just switched because Peyton had no chance of like staying in front of Harden off of that Chris Paul screen.
He should have just hit Brooke on the roll. It was like so open.
Right. I think he was like trying to be too cute, saw Jamal pinching in, and then was like, yeah. Harden hasn't been very accurate in the preseason. Now, look, he's an older guy. We know he's a smart player. We know he can still do a lot of things, but he hasn't been very accurate with in the preseason. In the games that I've watched, he's had some like weird turnovers, more like late season Harden type turnovers, which is why I pointed out, right? And he hasn't been shooting particularly well either. Actually, we have the very next clip that I've got here. If you could bring up the miss from the middle. Harden's not shooting very well on his like jump shots, is what I've noticed early. That could obviously change. There's a lot of luck involved in jump shot shooting, all of that. But I think that that's something to. Oh wait, is this the? No. I'm looking for the miss from the middle.
That's what I grabbed. Let me see what's on here.
Uh-oh, is this the wrong? Oh, that's just the wrong.
Oh, I think it plays after this. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's the same clip. It just after
Oh, okay. It's just a long clip. No problem. Okay. So if we could slow this one down a bit, we got Christian on Harden trying to fight under a higher zoo screen here. And he chooses. So the thing I like about this possession is that Christian absolutely commits a foul here by wrapping up Zoo. But by impeding Zubac's progress, this is what all the good defenders do, by the way. By impeding Zubac's progress on the roll when he wraps Zoo here, it's like the lightest thing, right?
Yeah, he kind of grabs him, but briefly lets
whatever.
Go.
just prevents him from going on the roll. Jokic can step up and prevent Harden from getting downhill. Now, look, there's a lot of players that can just make that shot. That's a wide open, just like paint midi or like, whatever. But with Harden in particular, this is a shot that you want Harden taking. You don't want him getting downhill and playmaking out of that, or even trying like making layups because he can still do that at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
And you don't want Zubats getting downhill on top of that. And so, what was funny?
Just how bad he missed that.
Oh, yeah.
he's
just not good in the mid range, man.
He is an air ball, and Derrick Jones Jr. is out of bounds and goes right into his hand. But yeah, I always thought Jokic he's good at, like, he's not necessarily good at playing drop, but there are times where if he's in the paint, he can kind of play the cat and mouse game of goading a shooter into like a floater that's from far away.
Yeah,
and that's like exactly it right there.
I'm gonna contest. Ugh.
And CB developing a little like vet savvy moves like that and not get a foul called. Yeah. Like, good for you, man.
I thought that possession was way more about Christian than Jokic. I mean, Jokic does well to like move himself to the middle and keep Harden from getting downhill. Just like, okay, I'm not gonna let you get further than this. Like, you have to take the shot from out there.
Totally.
So that was good, but I liked Christian committing a foul there. In order to I don't know how sneaky it was. I think the refs were just like, whatever. They weren't really calling things in this game.
Yeah, I wonder how much he can get.
The opposite of the Bulls game, by the way, where they called 51 fouls.
That was absurd.
All right, let's go on to we have to talk about John Collins, because I hesitated to have these clips in this segment in here because I think John Collins is somebody that the Nuggets want on the floor for the Clippers. And I fear that, well, look, Ty Lue has the film, okay? He can see all the problems that John Collins creates for his team all on his own. But I was kind of like, man, I almost don't want to talk about this because I want to keep him. I want to keep him on the floor for the Clippers because he was so bad on both ends in this game. I don't know what he finished with points wise or whatever, but he was a problem on offense and he was a big problem for the Clippers on defense. So he was the only Clipper starter who lost their minutes. Let's go into the defense first. The first is the AG corner 3. So on this one, Collins just kind of is like, okay, I'm trying to stay vigilant. I pinch in from the corner. And this is almost like if it was anybody else and like the rest of the context of this game didn't exist, this is just an amazing Jokic pass. And like John Collins isn't doing something wrong by helping off of AG in the corner. While this action is happening, because they want to prevent Jamal's roll.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pinch him that much, though.
Middle of the screening action, not expecting like that decisive of a pass, but it is Nikola Jokic. And
no look. Like, Collins has no idea what's happening until the ball flies past his head,
Yep.
So that was one. Next is the Jokic bucket out of horns. Another horn set. We had a lot of those over the last couple of games in particular. All right, so they initiate the set here. AG enters the ball to Jamal. And I'm so confused as to what happened on this play. I've watched it now 12 times over the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the Clippers were trying to do. So I don't even know if this is necessarily John Collins' fault, but he was involved in the confusion. So Jamal gets the ball here. Derrick Jones Jr. is going to try to chase him over, but then doesn't. Asks for Collins to switch onto Jamal. That's what happened. I think that Derrick Jones Jr. was like, I'm not going to fight over, and calls for a switch, and that's why John Collins jumps out. And then Zubac also jumps out because I think he doesn't know what the other two communicated.
Yeah, because my first instinct was that it was Zubac's fault. Like I thought, well, he either thought they were all switching every action, like just switch all double drag screens, and then he hedged too hard, and then John Collins didn't get the memo that he was supposed to switch. You know, like I don't know what the deal was. So it was
I think it's because of Derrick Jones Jr. not fighting over.
Yeah,
which they're not, because it this just turned into a double drag. So you're supposed to switch at least the first one, but then if you switch the first screen, John Collins is supposed to switch, and that's what he was trying to do. Yeah. So like, this was just a Clippers breakdown. I think this is a team breakdown.
Yeah, I don't want John Collins to be a good addition by the Clippers. I don't want them getting better, but do you think it's just he's new to the defense, doesn't know these assignments, doesn't know these coverages, and he's going to get there? Or are you like,
well, we're going to talk about the offense too.
Yeah.
But first, let's get to the AG semi-transition pass to Jokic. So,
yes.
On this one, John Collins had bricked a corner three. Okay, we see that. AG gets the rebound, pushes the ball up the floor. He's getting back. Zubac calls for Collins to switch onto Jokic, if he can see there, because Zubac is like, I'm not going to make it there. I'm trailing. So he's calling.
Yeah,
this one's on Zubac too. I think he was kind of lazy with his call onto Collins. Maybe should have asked for the switch earlier, because at this point it's like, even if Collins gets there a little bit faster, like Jokic is getting that layup. You know?
But I think he's calling for Derrick Jones Jr. to get there, and he just doesn't. He's like, well, I guess he can't, because someone has to stop Jokic. He's running down the middle of the court. Yeah. Someone's got to get there. You can't necessarily worry about the three there, because that's just what happens. Jokic gets an easy layup, but Derrick Jones Jr. was definitely worried about having to recover back to Cam. But yes.
And AG also no looks on this pass too, to be fair.
Yeah, he kind of like curled into the key, and then
I'm trying to shit on the Clippers defense, and then it's like, actually the Nuggets were doing some really good offensive stuff to like cause this confusion. So okay, but let's talk about the ways that John Collins struggled on offense. So the first, he commits this offensive foul against Jamal. I don't know why he did this, because he's got really deep paint position already, and I think was just trying to like, I don't know, I guess create additional space for like a hook shot or something. But he's got the height advantage on Jamal. Let's see. Drives on Jamal, gets him into the paint, and then is like, I don't know what he was doing here. That was a very easily offensive foul. He almost headbutted him.
Hey, great play by Jamal to stay in front.
Yeah. And just stay solid on his base.
And he's like, hey, I'm big. Yeah, that was way too much.
He did headbutt him, actually. Like,
yeah, that was ridiculous.
That felt very unnecessary. The next one, he gets blocked. I think blocked by Jamal at the rim, or he just misses this shot with Jamal like hard contesting.
Yeah, I think he blocked it.
Yeah, he blocked it. Good block by Jamal. Jamal's defense, by the way, in this preseason has been the most consistent of any Nugget. He's been good defensively in every game.
Yeah, he
very active.
It's like he got his finger on it and he brought his hand back up the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally gets blocked by Jamal at the rim. So that's, fun. Can I just say, when I watched this game live, I didn't realize that John Collins was on the floor until the second half. Not because he disappeared, but because I would have expected him to have like a bigger presence. I thought I was seeing like two Derek Jones Juniors, or it was just like another wing, another Clippers wing, because they've got a number of them on that team. I thought he would be bigger. Like, he looks actually quite small compared to like AG, particularly AG, right? So I thought he was going to add more size to the Clippers, but I may have overestimated that.
I think it's fair. I mean, look, we just saw Jamal handle it. He tried to use his size. It was a foul. Yeah. I'm loving it. I don't want this to be a success story. Sorry, Clippers fans.
Then he gets ripped by Cam on a drive. My gosh.
Did you? Oh, yes. Here we go.
This one was wild. So Cam is guarding him. He thinks he's got to step on him, and then Cam just takes the ball away.
How about that defense from Cam Johnson?
When I saw Cam Johnson do that, I was like, wow, what an amazing play. I didn't realize who he did it to until I was going back and seeing like what was going on with John Collins in this game. But it felt like bullying at this point.
I mean, John Collins tried to go straight through him. So he's trying to like gather and do like a little Euro step where he's going to bring the ball over to his other hip, essentially, like other shoulder. And as he's bringing it up, it's just right into Cam's hands. Then Cam's like, I'm just going to use my strength and take it from you.
This was so funny. And then I think it was another drive on Cam Johnson. He gets the ball knocked away. And this one I wanted to point out because it's an example, like a pretty representative example of the way that Cam Johnson has been good on the ball in the preseason. We talked about some of the ways that he has not been great on the ball when he allows too much space. But when he's guarding these bigger wings, he can close the gap a little bit more on these drives and just stay solid on the bottom and knock the ball away. And he's done that a number of times throughout the preseason. This turned into a jump ball. I don't remember who wins it.
Jamal diving on the floor. It's scary. But
well, he's always doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought this was a rough John Collins game. Do you think that he gets DNP'd in a series against the Nuggets? Or in other like really intense like playoff series? Because I'm not gonna lie, if I watch you get just ripped on a drive like that as a coach, I'm like, okay, this is like a 1-round player, not like a 4-round player. If they make it, past the first round.
Potentially. I think also he's just been in situations where he's been allowed more freedom. When you're on a Clippers team with like championship aspirations and you have so many guys ahead of you, it's time to like adjust how you play within yourself, and he has not shown that, right? It's early, but
it is early and it is preseason. Like, guys are exploring things a little bit more, right? Of course. But I think that's going to be something to watch. I will say I did catch a short stint, actually like most of the first half, of Clippers Kings last night. That was kind of scary because they played these Chris Paul, John Collins lineups together. I think Brooke was also on the floor, but it was a lot of like Chris Paul lobs to John Collins, and he had a great game. So I don't want John Collins playing a simple role with a competent ball handler. We as Nuggets fans need Bradley Beal to come back healthy so that Chris Paul can exit that rotation post haste.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. One of the things with Derek Jones Jr., he had obviously the transition plays, but he also had a couple of drives in the half court. That he just looked way more comfortable in this game than he did in really any game in the playoff series that we just played against this team. And I wondered if he actually could thrive more this season when he doesn't have to play any substantial number of minutes with Chris Dunn, who I think is probably going to be the main odd man out in the rotation as they have so many guards. And defensively, they could just be like, well, we'll just have Dunn on that assignment.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Like, you have like less. You don't have to play like the two non-spacers together that have kind of an awkward offensive fit. And I just felt like he was a lot more comfortable and felt like he had a lot more space compared to the playoff series. So I would just keep an eye on that. He might have a really big year for the Clippers this season, just as a result of that. Anything else about the Clippers game?
Nah, let's go to the Bulls.
All right, let's do it. Okay. The Nuggets were playing really good defense in this game. They were like tied, or like it was close as like 10-11. I forget who was up. And then the Nuggets ripped off a 16-0 run in the first quarter. And then the game was like, it was basically in control from there until like the last 5 minutes. I was like, guys, don't blow a 17-point lead in like 5 minutes. I thought that Jokic was playing a lot of two-man game with a lot of different guys. Saw him do stuff with Tim Hardaway Jr. Saw him try some stuff with Christian. I think there was even a possession with Peyton in there where they tried to like, let's see if you can create the advantage. Let's see if you can get me the ball in the middle of the floor kind of thing. They were just kind of trying stuff in this game. It's obviously the Bulls, so it's kind of whatever. Yeah. And if you could bring up the tic-tac-toe to Pwat possession, I don't know what the Bulls were doing in this game defensively. But they end up, I think, trying to ice this screen with Christian, and then Matas doesn't step up fast enough, or maybe too fast. I don't know. And Peyton, like Jokic, is like immediately like lob to Peyton, and Peyton finishes it, which is very welcome.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. There. And then it's just Jokic flash to the middle and easy dunker spot for Peyton. And
yeah, I think Matas was like, I'm going to contest this floater. And then it was like, oh, that's not a floater. I just think this team offensively has been humming, especially with Cam. And we're going to talk about the ways that Cam like helps the offense hum, even though he hasn't been making shots. But I think they're going to crush bad defenses like very easily. And look, they were very good at that last year as well. Like they had so many games where they scored over 130 points, like shockingly, because of the transition play. But I just think that like the offensive process has been a lot better than I expected it to be this early with so many new pieces, and with so many guys like exploring their games, frankly. Yeah. So let's talk about Christian and his pick and roll chemistry with Jokic. If you could bring up the the first dump off pass. So Christian goes in for the DHO. He's got Giddey on him, and then it's Vooch, so he's like way out of position, and Giddey is like way trailing the play. So Christian makes the dump off to Jokic, and Jokic gets the little push shot in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, do you like seeing, CB
another like?
I think
he was almost going to fake the pass because it's the same like position, head tilt.
Oh yeah,
kind of pump fake that he did in the Clippers game, except he makes the pass
and said his. That's a sweet little. It shows his comfort that he can take the time to look for the pass or look to score depending on the situation.
Yeah. If he could bring up the second dump off pass as well. I think this is another one where he's got Giddey on him. It's good to see Christian taking advantage of bad defenders. And I don't mean that as an insult to Christian, because obviously he did the same thing to Kawhi in the last game, right? Although I don't think Kawhi played particularly well on the ball in that last game. But it's good when you have a guy who can help take advantage of bad defenders, because that presents mismatch issues come playoff time, right? That was like our entire game plan against the Clippers, as you and I talked about in the playoff series, was like, we're just going at Harden. We're going at Harden on ball, off ball, vertically, horizontally, like every which way to score, and it's working. And so they just kept doing that in a variety of ways. Like, doesn't matter who he's guarding, you're going to be in the action, right? And I felt like that was Christian with Giddey in this game in a variety of ways. It was obviously these drives off of handoffs, offensive rebounding too, although I will say Giddey is a really good rebounder, so it wasn't as easy to take advantage of him in that way, although Christian definitely got a few there. And you also want to be able to exhaust the other team's number one option. even if you're not getting the best stuff out of it, if you have competent offense coming out of that and you can wear them down some, that's a win. I will say the dump off passes did get blocked in other instances. Okay, so we'll talk. I have another clip later in here where Christian kind of gets in trouble when the easy passing window isn't there. But obviously, this is development. Like, he has to get better. Like, he's learning the progression of how to, like, learn the skill and then refine the skill, right?
We have a question. Did
CB
get neutralized during the Clippers series?
No. Christian was one of our main weapons in that series. He was a great rebounder. He was killing them in transition, finishing everything. No, he was not neutralized in the Clippers series. I wouldn't say, even in the Thunder series, I wouldn't say that Christian was neutralized. It was just like, okay, he couldn't like push us over the edge.
Or not as often. Well, like you said, people are going to help off Christian. So if that's how you're defining him being neutralized, they're just taking advantage of it a little bit. But I don't think he did anything that like really harmed us.
Yeah. Okay, if you could bring up the one where he gets stonewalled by Patrick Williams. So this is like very quick part of this clip. So he's driving on Patrick Williams and then has to very quickly pass the ball out to Jamal. And then it results in Jamal like getting blocked by Matas at the rim here.
So just right at the beginning, he's driving.
Right here, gets stonewalled, and then like I think he was a little impatient with this pass here. Probably could have like taken it out, waited for Jamal to get into a better position, waited for somebody else to get into a better position to receive that pass. But Jamal drives. That's like a makeable like situation for Jamal. He's got 10 seconds left on the clock. He can drive in, try to make a shot. Matas makes a good play at the rim. I think he should have dumped it off to Peyton there, but it was like a very bang bang play. If you could bring up the step through attempt. So this one was one where the Bulls were like, okay, this is when they start like, we're going to stop you from being able to pass the ball to Jokic on these drives. So he's got Io on him this time, better defender, brackets him pretty well. But Zach Collins is like way out of position. This is a situation where Christian has, if he keeps driving, I think the problem is he ends up picking up his dribble. If he keeps driving, he's got a left-handed layup available to him. I'm very curious to see what his left-handed finishing looks like this year because it was definitely an issue last season. He just stopped. He stopped dribbling and he's a little too far. He attempts a step through, which would be a good move if he could make it, but he missed this one, right? So that's like, again, good progress on, getting better at these drives and exactly. But you have to learn like the next step in the progression. And that's going to be, something that we watch as the year goes on.
We can't show all the amazing CB plays because he's got an extension. We got to show some of the things he's struggling with. Give the team some help. Exactly.
If you could bring up the trouble clip. So this is the one I was thinking of earlier where it's another one where the Bulls end up covering up the pass to Jokic. So Christian is coming around, straight pick and roll with Asenge guarding him on ball. I don't know what, I think he was just really trying to force the pass to Jokic. I will say here, the Bulls do end up, or the refs end up calling a foul on Asenge for holding Jokic here. And so maybe Christian was like, Jokic is in front. I have to get him the ball here. Like, this is a for sure thing.
Yeah,
so he tries to jump pass.
He jumps before he even knows he's going to pass. Yeah. I think he's looking to do a floater because his head's up, and then he's like, oh, shit. That's why he has to make the awkward pass because he jumped too soon.
Yeah.
But Jokic was being
gets
held.
blocked by Vooch. The Bulls would have gotten this ball if the refs don't make this call. And they should make this call, but they don't always make this call. And so I wouldn't want to rely on that. Like, I would want Christian to focus on like being precise with the pass if he's going to make the pass. Or I would have liked to see him try to go for the layup here. I think he jumped, like you said, trying to go for a floater, and I think he jumped a little too early. Like, I think he'd get one more step in there and then be able to either make the finish over Vooch or get fouled.
Yeah, like we saw that other play where he had that drive around Zoo and made the confident finish, and he's a big body, obviously. Zoo was a little bit more behind the play than Vooch was here, but in order for him to score in that possession, he would have had to like try to float it over him, but it was just like he was in position, so he either needed more space to get more speed to get around him, or he needed to realize that he was
I think
in that position.
He slowed down early because he wanted to stop in the middle of the floor, but I think he could have taken like another step and been closer.
Yeah.
Um,
but the decision making's growing; it's getting there, which is cool. But yeah,
yes,
some room for improvement.
So let's see. We got the trouble. Okay. If you could get to the dump off on the broken play. This was a good Christian play, but Jokic sells it here by overthinking it, and then like I don't know, gets contested by Vooch. He either overthought it or underthought it. You could say like he should have either shot it immediately or waited another second to like get a step on Vooch and create a little bit more space. But yeah, bam, miss it. The Bulls take the ball the other way. But this was a broken play, and Christian was very patient. It's like, okay, let me Jokic is right under the rim, found him there. Thought that was
Always a good go-to.
Find Jokic.
Yeah.
The next step, I think, for Christian is making the kind of shot that Jamal makes at the beginning of this game, which is the Jamal and one layup on a Okoro. We've talked about this coverage so much ever since the last Wolves series, where the big is like, let me stunt and then like recover to Jokic on the pop and like keep that, and then you've got the room available to you. Maybe you've got Matas is kind of like maybe the Rudy here or whoever the help defender is in that case, but you have the ability to create a layup. Jamal could have gone for a wide open reverse, but he chose to get the and one instead.
Yeah.
I think he probably could have avoided getting fouled.
Like he didn't rush it. He kind of pulled up and waited for the defender to get some contact, which sometimes they're supposed to not call some plays like that, because Chris Paul had been doing that like a couple seasons ago where he's like dribbling and then just sees someone's coming up on him and he stops, player runs into him. They're trying to get that out of the game. That wasn't quite the same type of play, but I think there are times
CB was actively trailing him, and
CB's like going downhill full speed usually and then just like make something happen. But yeah, you could see maybe him adding a little patience, looking for opportunities like that, get to the line.
Yeah, very deliberate play. Let's see. My note for Jamal on this game. Jamal looks fucking sick.
Yeah.
He was incredible in this game. He's been incredible throughout preseason, like relative to Jamal preseason standards. But obviously, you drop 30 points in 27 minutes or whatever it was in the preseason game. People are going to take notice. The first, obviously the first Jamal play we show is the one that we already showed with that and one layup. Very patient, deliberate, but also aggressive move there. The next one is actually a pass. You could bring up the dump off to AG. So Vooch is here. He's like, oh, and then
that was such a good pass.
Such a good pass. And like, I don't even know if AG knew that was going to come to him. He's like, let me create some space for Maul. Let me just get out of the way, get an offensive rebounding position. And then Jamal's like, I'll just find him middle of the floor. No help.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Giddey did not know that he had been back cut on. He's focusing on Jamal. He turns to look. As soon as Giddey turns to look, Jamal recognizes it and just hits the pass.
I will say this is one of the hazards of gap coverage, or not gap coverage, but trying to like plug the driving lanes like this, is you can get back cut on pretty easily, and that's something to consider as the Nuggets kind of try to do that more. You have to be very aware if you're one of those nail help guys. That's what I'm trying to think of, the term. I was gonna, yeah, because in my notes I was like, Giddey was asleep. I'm like, no, I think Giddey was just trying to execute their coverage, but it was in a very lazy way.
Right.
Let's go to the Jamal cutting dunk. Jamal was very aggressive on this play, right? He's like, oh nope, don't have that because Mata's covered that I think pretty well, and then just give and go.
Jamal, his reaction.
I just think it's pretty cool that like Jamal can play all these different ways, right? Like we talk about his versatility as a player, but I don't think it's appreciated enough. Probably in terms of let's say combo guard play in the NBA, he's probably the most versatile in terms of the totality of both his on-ball and off-ball, not just ability, but sense here, which allows him to play in this style. And I said here, play like Jokic ball. Jokic isn't even on the floor. But this is like a very like Jokic Nuggets type of possession, right? Maybe you want like a little bit more like movement to different people, but like Bruce touches the ball and then no looks to Jamal in the middle of the floor for a dunk, right?
Yeah, and Vooch wasn't even ready to turn around to help. He turned around, he's covering AG in the dunker, and Jamal's already dunking. And yeah, Jamal just looks so quick. His handle looks like crisp, and he looks explosive. And if he doesn't keep this up throughout the whole season, and he's just teasing us with this preseason brilliance, I will be so heartbroken because I feel like we're finally getting this like amazing Jamal coming into the season we've been asking for. So it's like so promising, and I think it's the reason why so many people are so high on the Nuggets outlook right now, as they should, because he's such an important factor.
I think you're right, because especially with the way that Cam has looked in terms of just the shooting, I think a lot of people would have like revised their a month ago off-season expectations for the team if it was like normal preseason Jamal plus Cam looking like this.
For sure.
Even though I think Cam is doing some good.
Yeah. He just struggled with the shot, and he's obviously there's going to be growing pains, but I think on the whole, he's showing flashes of like the potential of what we can do, and I like that.
You know what's odd now that I think about it? I said I had these clips about the let's see, Cam within the offense, but I can't find
Speaking of
now.
Cam, we have another Cam. We have Swipe a Cam. Thanks for coming, first time chatter. I think you've chatted before, but
yeah, he's come here to talk trash about my my Stanford Cardinals. Yeah, I can't find the Cam continuity notes. I must have cut those. Interesting. Anyway, that's fine. Okay, let's go to AG shooting. This was a crazy AG game because he was just doing everything. He was dunking everything, not getting as high up, but on those dunk attempts, but finishing everything. So what happens here? He's just ISOing Giddey.
Crossover ISO 3 over Giddey.
He was so comfortable with that shot too. Like very confident shot. And then swished. Nothing but net there.
Yeah.
We did get the sequel. We didn't talk about it in the Clippers game, but we did see the double big lineup for the first time with Jokic and Val. It was very limited possessions. It was like 2 minutes. I thought it was interesting. We're going with no point guard in those minutes. I do want to see some more double big looks with Jamal on the floor. Because I'm kind of skeptical of how the offense can keep going with those two guys on. But I understand like maybe DA is like, we got to have length out there, or like part of it's like, look, Jamal's staggering. We got to get him rest at some point. Like he's got to sit at some point. And maybe that's where you decide to get it for him. Is there a reason why DaRon Holmes is playing with the fourth stringers? No, like there's not a reason that I am aware of. I think that the team is clearly just not as high on like where he is in his I guess rehab process, like just not rehab, but like ability to play on an NBA floor, right? He is still a rookie. He's a rookie who has not played NBA basketball or played organized basketball in a year and a half now because of his Achilles injury outside of summer league. I've been pretty disappointed in that in particular because it's like, why is Hunter Tyson playing more minutes than him? Like, even if you don't feel like that great about the guy, I just want to see more of him. And every time he gets on the floor, it's like, I don't know, he looked like he did in summer league, gangly like a rookie, but like looks like he might be able to contribute something, but you have to like give him the opportunity. But I'm not the coaches. I don't see him every day in practice and all that stuff. So that's pretty disappointing because I feel like if he's not, oh, go ahead.
It's something we said we wanted to see in these next preseason games that we're talking about now, and we didn't get to really see it
at all. He's basically come in the last 5 minutes every game, not even playing the entire fourth quarter, like some other bench guys, like deep bench guys. Yeah, it's disappointing because I think if he's not getting opportunities early in the season, they're not going to come later in the season, and so that kind of like writes the story for DaRon Holmes for the year, which I think is disappointing, not just for him, but also for the team that is very much lacking in forward depth. But we have seen Spencer Jones get a lot of opportunity. I know, Liz, like, let's play him at least 7 minutes. I agree. I'm like, give him 10. Let's go crazy, you know?
Yeah. Remember that Spencer Jones playing center lineup with 4 guards?
We did. So I think it was the Bulls game, right? We sat Jokic for like the last like 90 seconds or something, and they put Spencer really at the 5, and it was a disaster.
Hey, but Adam's going for stuff.
He's doing something.
That was.
I thought I was like, okay, I guess the starters are just done, and he's pulling them early. But then they played in the third quarter.
Yeah, like all the third quarter.
I didn't understand.
Because as soon as they took the main starters out, we saw another Jamal stagger, which is what I figured they'd do. If this is the dress rehearsal game, you got to go with that. But they played them longer than normal in that third quarter. But if this is the last preseason action, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, Holmes can't move like Jones on defense, and he's not a perimeter guy. My problem is like we need to find a legit 4. I don't even know that Spencer is necessarily that, but he's also a two-way player. Maybe Spencer's going to get that last standard roster spot. It wouldn't at this point, based on how the team is like treating him, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying that it would happen at the beginning of the year. Like it probably wouldn't happen until mid-season. Like they have to find out that there's nothing like better out there that they could get. Because they do have the right to do it, to convert Spencer to a standard deal at any point in the season. Which, congrats to my fellow Cardinal if he's able to get that done. I mean, at this point, he's been able to parlay his practice and experience into a top 11 spot on an NBA team. And that's a really big deal as a two-way player, right?
And speaking of the other Jones, because we have Spencer Jones and Curtis Jones, and he hit 3 threes. Did you have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he moves pretty well. He can break guys down. I haven't seen him playing outside of garbage time, so it's hard to really evaluate beyond that. He continues to look the way that he did in summer league, is what I could say about that. I will say though, like I was surprised when they brought Curtis in for that last two-way spot as another guard, right? Because they already had Tamar Bates. But it seemed like Curtis was like their like upside play after Trey Alexander decided to go to the Pelicans. Because it like from what I'm hearing, it seemed like they wanted to keep Trey, but Trey was like, I want to roll somewhere, so I'm gonna go to like the most cursed franchise in the association. Which I mean, maybe not like the worst plan if you're looking for an opportunity and like, I don't know, you're like, where do people get in? Yeah, Trey Alexander with that Showgirls meme of Elizabeth Berkley pushing Gina, oh my god, what's her name, down the stairs. Anyway, whatever. Just watch your back. Jeremiah Fierce. It's gonna be free. I'm kidding. Nobody clip that. But no, like he looked good. I think he moves better than Trey. In terms of like having like Trey had fluidity, but I think Curtis is a little bit more of a first step, like a little more speed, a little more twitch to him.
Okay, yeah. Well, he looks like more under control to me in some ways, Curtis, than Trey, but I don't know because he is a little more speedy.
He's more speedy. I think that Trey was very like not hesitant, but not aggressive, like passive. He was very passive.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, last part of this Bulls game that I really wanted to hit because I was super impressed by this player.
Okay.
Matas Buzelis. I gotta talk about Matas Buzelis because I thought he was pretty I've liked him every time the very limited times that I've watched the Chicago Bulls over the last year. Drafted in the last draft class, going into his second year now. Crazy defensive player. Especially in this game. He's got the tools, obviously, but it's one thing to have the tools, another thing to have the instincts and actually execute on these things. He had 5 blocks in 30 minutes, and it didn't feel like a crazy game. He was just casually, getting some of these. Some of them were very impressive, though, I will say. So first one was, this was not a block, but he was really good fighting around this screen to force a tough outside miss from Jamal. Now, look, this is a shot, if we watch it, that Jamal could make, but Matas makes it harder. And look at that wingspan. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a finger on the ball there. Wingspan, and he's got the long fingers too. Yeah, Jamal misses that.
That's a main assignment versus the Nuggets. A lot of the times it's just fighting over the screen with Jamal and trying to stay either behind him to contest, or if he floats out to the 3, get a contest up.
And he's not a small player, so the fact that he was able to fight over the screen as well as he did and force a tougher shot, as opposed to having to chase Jamal downhill on a pick and roll and force Denver into a 4-on-3 situation with Jokic rolling is always good, but especially for a larger player. He's very versatile. On the next one, he blocks Cameron Johnson on a drive. He's trailing the play fully out of it, and you're okay, Cam's either going to get a foul here, a layup, a foul, or if anyone's going to block him, it's going to be John Collins or Zach Collins.
Yeah,
Zach Collins.
Zach Collins.
So many Collins.
The famous Nuggets enemy.
Yes, famous Nuggets, and he was kind of giving Val the business a little bit in this game too. But yeah, fully behind the play, and then makes this is able to make this incredible play on the ball. Reminds you of early Peyton Watson or even current Peyton Watson, in that he can recover and cover up those kinds of mistakes, right? We already talked about the one where he blocked Jamal. Let's get to the one where Jamal actually gets the best of him at the rim. But he forces a really tough shot from Jamal, I gotta say, but obviously something that Jamal can do. Gets downhill, trailing the play, coming off the handoff, and then Jamal gets this really tough scoop layup and gets the and one as well.
Jamal is just, as much as Buzelis has a wingspan, Jamal's too savvy and just knows what he has to do to get a ball in the rim on a play like that with a trailer right there on it.
Yeah. And he even bodied up both Val and Jokic and blocked both of them at the rim. I missed the one where he blocked. I forgot the clip where he blocks Val, but he does block Jokic while guarding him on the ball at the rim here. And I think in such a way that Jokic, I don't think, gets the offensive rebound. Let's see what happens here. So he's on the ball. AG's okay. Boom. And Jokic gets the step on him, and Matas is able to get this block. I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, you do not see a lot of players getting that on Jokic.
Yeah.
And then they get burned like that, but they don't recover and get a block like that.
And then there was another play in the bench stint where he blocked Val in help. And Val totally would have, just gotten a very easy layup after getting the step on a smaller player. And then Matas comes over, and he's good at blocking inbounds too, so the Bulls are able to get the ball and go the other way on most of these, with the exception of the one against Cam. I think he did block that one out of bounds. I was very impressed with him. He definitely has like, the shooting is still like, I don't know, with him, but he's got a really quick first step. I prefer him on the ball than off the ball offensively right now. But yeah, I just wanted to give Montes a little shine here because I think the Bulls actually got like a sneaky good one.
This is where we pray they don't just trade him to the Thunder for nothing.
Oh my gosh. Could we not joke about that? Liz A says, okay, but even with Buzelis and Giddey at the end with our bench won. That was more impressive to me. Here's the thing, Liz. Our bench did win, but they did not win the minutes. The thing that helped our bench was that they had a really, really big lead given to them by the starters in this particular game. It was not a banner bench game for them. Which is why I mostly didn't talk. I mostly talked about the starters in the when it came to the Bulls game.
But I will say, like, for these dress rehearsal games, if this is the last kind of look we get of the Nuggets with, a rotation that we can expect more in the regular season, like I think Adelman will mix it up more still. But like, you got your Jamal staggers, you got the you got your standard starters. I really loved how they looked versus the Clippers. I like how our bench looks overall so far in the preseason. Like there's still, bumps and hiccups here and there, but like the offense through Val, Pwat's offense is looking better. We just have more depth overall. And even like Liz is saying, like it's just a little bit more reliable, even if they don't win the minutes, getting, not minus 16 or something is the goal. And I'm like really positive in how we look so far. But I also, if you want to give any like general thoughts on how we look, we didn't really get to like the full answer on what we thought of the zone, because obviously we played zone in both of these games. Yeah. And I
think it's promising as like a curveball look, but I don't think it's going to be our base coverage. I don't think we're good enough at it for it to be our base coverage. And they're obviously still working out kinks, but something that I do like about it is Tim Hardaway Jr. has a very defined role when he's on the floor and they're playing zone. He's one of the two guys that is playing high in the too high in that particular look. We didn't get to see, I don't think, any of the 1-3-1 zone, which we played more against like OKC in the playoffs than the Clippers. But in the too high look, I like that Tim Hardaway Jr. has a defined role because he can't get lost off ball. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And I like that. I like when guys have like defined roles. Other than that though, it's really like, we'll see. Someone that we didn't talk about at all in either of these two, because they didn't factor into the rotation in the main rotation in these dress rehearsal games, was Julian Strawther. What do you think about that? We really only saw him in garbage time. Does it concern you, given like the cap situation the team is in, that he doesn't seem to be a factor, at least from these two games, in the regular rotation?
I mean, it concerns me just because I think if Strawther could get there, like, because we, THJ is a vet minimum.
Yeah.
And, Strawther hasn't done anything.
And he's probably not going to be here next year. So I don't think they want to get rid of Julian. I don't think they necessarily should, because it's like, oh, well, we have Tim Hardaway Jr. It's like, well, we might not next year. And honestly, by the end of this season, Julian could be better.
Yeah.
Like realistically speaking.
And I think that, there's a chance for that. If Julian is better and develops, he's someone that you want for sure. Because he's a great backup two for us, for sure, if we can get there. And his shot is amazing. Like the ceiling and like upsides, like what you want. It's just taking time to get there. And right now he has no value. Can't trade him. He'd only be like thrown into a deal to sweeten some ugly ass deal that we'd be trying to do. But that's not going to be happening until at least the trade deadline. So I just want Julian to develop just for himself. I mean, he's not at a point where he's like pushing us to like make some tough decisions right now. So I guess you have a little bit of, that flexibility, which is fine, but you'd rather have to be making tough decisions about like playing him over THJ. That was like the thinking. And so we'll see if that happens.
Which is what you'd want. Like you'd want him to be doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, defensively, I do think that something that stood out in this game in a bad way is how often he gets lost off the ball. And I actually noticed it when I was going through the film of the Clippers game as well, because he did play a few minutes in that game. Not a lot, but a few. In the first half. He lost Javon Carter so many times off the ball, and the Bulls just don't have the playmakers to get the open guy the ball like middle of the floor. And it was just like, oh, that's not good defensive process. We just kind of got lucky because of who the opponent was. And that's not great because you would have wanted to see more progress, at least in that particular area, by this point in Julian's career. So it's the defense, right? Like offense, I've actually really liked his process when he's played for the most part, like especially on ball, like his on ball reps are the ones I like the most between him and like Peyton Watson, to be honest. And we've seen some flashes from Peyton, but I think that Julian's a bit more consistent in like the progressions that he goes to on a particular possession, like the progression of his reads. And that makes sense because like he's an offensive player. Like that's how that's been his focus for the most part to this point in his career. But defensively, it's just like still pretty untenable. And at least you can trust like Tim Hardaway Jr. will have lapses, but you don't expect him to like keep having lapses, especially if guys are like communicating and all that stuff. So I think that Julian that really needs to be his focus.
Last show we were talking about the starters defense versus the Wolves and how like it didn't look great in that first preseason game, and talking about how we were getting in rotation. But I definitely thought with the bench defense, obviously Strawther was the one getting us into the rotation the most in that game for sure. And so
I mean, Cam was not good in that game either. Like he's been a lot better over the last couple games than he was in the first two, I would say, particularly on the ball. It does help that the last two opponents that we played were not as athletic as the Wolves, not as quick, and didn't have to deal with the Wolves played two small quick guards, and that's not even counting like their starting point guard wasn't even playing in that game, right? So they've got a lot of issues that they present to Denver specifically. So not to say that we would look any better if we played with like this level of intensity against them, but I like to think that we wouldn't look that bad.
Right. And if the zone can get a little bit better, like, I mean, I didn't love the zone. I thought it kind of it forced the Bulls to shoot a lot of threes. They didn't hit a lot. But they had a lot of it. Well, not a ton of attempts. Maybe I don't know what their average is.
They had a lot of turnovers. Like the thing with the Bulls is they kept trying to drive into traffic. So I couldn't tell if like our defense was like amazing in that game or if it was just like bad Bulls offense.
I think it's a little bit of both. But I mean, clearly Adelman was like trying to pack in the possessions we were playing zone just to get more practice, and I think he said that too. Like
that makes sense.
You got to work on it to be good. You can't just like break it out and expect to be there, and that's what we're seeing. So I don't know that I saw a ton of progress with it yet, but maybe there's some comfortability. I mean,
it's
there
a couple games. Like you got to see progress over a larger span, and it can't just be about the misses. It's hard to track these things too. Like you have to actually like sit down and watch the possessions. And be like, okay, this guy wasn't out of position this particular time. Plus, you've got like different lineups playing them, so different guys in different areas of the zone, and like all this. So you just need a bigger sample size to be able to, assess that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think the team offensively looks really good. I think defensively, when they play with effort, they can look incredible, like top 7 or 8 level incredible. I don't know how often they're going to keep that up, especially come the regular season. But I do expect this team to not look like they did against the Wolves in the first preseason game for the entire season. I think that honestly, watching them defensively, it's very reasonable to expect them to finish like conservatively a top 14 defense, and I think like their ceiling is probably like top 8 or 9, but somewhere in between 8 and 14 I think is where they're going to fall, and like the higher up you get in that range, the happier I will be. Because I just think the offense looks really good.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about, as I said. Question from Papa: do you think the double big lineup could be useful? We didn't get too deep into double big.
I don't know yet. Like, we just need to see more of it. I don't know if it can be useful. I think if it doesn't suck, it can be useful because you can just have an option that you can put out there to match up. But I'd like to see them have a little bit more intentionality with it in terms of how they utilize it to attack other teams. David Adelman made a point, I think it was in some in practice media this week, where he said, the difference between the Rockets double big and ours is like when you look at the two bigs in the Rockets, like they both know exactly what they're going to do because they have their, like, not one thing, but the thing they specialize in. With Şengün, it's playing up at the elbow, doing all the playmaking and whatever on offense. And then Steven Adams is like, I just crashed the offensive glass. When you have Jokic, who can do like everything, and you have Val, who can do a lot of things himself, you just kind of have to figure out how you're going to pare down the roles in order to optimize both players. And you have to think about the players that are around them as well, right? So, yeah, I just think that we need more. I wouldn't mind getting more reps. It's crazy because, like, when you play it, you're probably not going to play it as much as, like, the Rockets do in terms of volume, or even at a time. Like, you might play double big every single game, but only for, like, 2 minutes at a time. And I don't think that's enough to, like, quite get the chemistry down. So I think they need to, if they're going to, like, really tinker with this, they have to give it, like, a real runway. Maybe, like, let me check the early season schedule here. They've got the Warriors opening night. I'm just thinking, like, who are like the easy opponents that we don't have to worry about, like, if this is a terrible lineup, can we still like claw our way back and win that game, kind of thing.
The theme of last season, clawing back and winning games.
Yeah, they've got, okay, so Warriors, Suns, Wolves. We've got the Pelicans on the 29th. I mean, I don't know if this team's going to be good or horrible, but the Kings on the 3rd. Then you got some good, solid to good teams. We have the Kings again on the 11th. We have the Kings again on the 22nd. Oh my gosh.
Gosh, so much games against Russell Westbrook.
Well, trying to get them out of the way. We play the Bulls again on the 17th of November. So that's another opportunity. And the Pelicans again. Okay. So there's opportunities to like roll it out for like 4 or 5 minutes at a time, kind of thing, and really get like, large chunks of them trying to put that together. But yeah.
Oh no, Zion's looking good. Yeah, he
yeah,
kind of crazy.
He is kind of crazy.
Happy for him.
Might not matter. Like,
yeah.
The schedule looks scary because of the density pop in, but honestly, like the identity of the teams, like, yeah, you're in the Western Conference, so you don't have any like bad opponents, but like the worst team that we play in terms of like matchups even is the Wolves. We have once in this span, but every other team you could see Denver beating potentially comfortably. Could be wrong about the Golden State Warriors because they're like favorites to win the 2 seed in the conference now for some reason.
The Warriors.
We play them twice in the first month, so that's something. The Blazers are going to be good. There's like a lot of good, not great teams that we're playing. Miami, the Pacers. Okay, the Clippers are great. The Wolves are great. The Bulls and Pelicans are bad. We play Houston, which could be good, could be great. We don't know. We'll see when it comes to dealing with the no point guard situation. The Grizzlies, like the early schedule is like not that bad in terms of the identity of the teams. It's just like really dense, but they'll figure it out. Not the first time. Any closing thoughts before we sign off here, Will?
Nope, we covered pretty much everything I wanted to from these 2 games, and we're going to close out preseason. Starters probably won't play, I would assume. Has that been confirmed?
I'm confirming it. I'm going to say the Spurs are absolutely not playing a 5th preseason game.
Yes,
DA said at his post game presser the last game that his focus for the rest of the preseason is health, and I don't think there's any reason to play the starters in a 5th preseason game if that is the case.
So maybe that means we could see more Holmes. You're not playing the starters, trying to get other players reps.
Watch DaRon Holmes only play the last 5 minutes of this game too.
Of these games. God damn it, DA.
Oh my gosh.
The first feud, Malone Mike thing is going to be DA Holmes. Probably not. I'm just kidding.
Malone Mike. I don't think Mike MPJ was the first player that Malone was like, you're in the doghouse because you're a rookie.
No, not the first, but just one that people are familiar with.
Yeah.
Or Bones.
I mean, there were reasons for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's no reasons for this DaRon Holmes thing other than, maybe they're not as confident, and he was coming off an injury, and this is his rookie year, so here we are.
Yeah. Well, if you made it this far, we really appreciate you. And if you didn't make it this far, then you're not hearing me say it. If you like our content, please remember to hit the like button, the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on socials. All our links are in the description. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks. Nuggets have a winning record in the preseason. It's the first time since I've been watching them over the last
positive
3
sign.
years. Yeah.
See everyone. Thank you.